I'm so grateful that you watched Tenet.
I don't understand. Like I had texted you. I don't know if I'm just missing something or what, but every person that I've talked to about Tenet is like, "Oh, it's such a confusing movie. You need to watch it a few times." Do you know how I watched it?
Don't say it's on. If you watched it on your phone, don't tell me you watched it on your phone. Just say you watched it.
I watched it on my phone.
Oh my god!
While I was working with AirPods in. So I was like looking at the screen every couple of minutes. I like paid attention when shit started popping off because that shit was cool to watch. But
I will say that with the headphones in, that's actually like optimal because Chris Nolan ditched Hans Zimmer after I think Dunkirk. I think Dunkirk was the last one. And he picked up, I don't even know his name. It's like a super German, maybe even like Nordic name. Like it's one of those names.
Oh, I can only think of one German
It's like Ludwig van something. Like
Beethoven.
No, people. Oh yeah, and it's just like he did Tenet, he did Oppenheimer, and now he's doing the Odyssey, and it's just like locked in. Like it's some of the like finest composing that you've ever heard.
I'm excited for that Odyssey movie.
Have you?
There probably is a movie that's based off the Odyssey, but
You didn't watch it in ninth grade?
No.
Oh yeah, there is. It's I want to say Ralph Fiennes. I don't know his name. Voldemort. He was Odysseus. I'm like 90% sure it was him.
Did he have a nose?
Yeah, he did.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if he was just like that.
But it's like because the Odyssey is.
It's like the first story ever told.
Well, yeah, but the Odyssey is like an Odyssey. It's a long, like complicated story. I think the movie that they made is very like condensed. Like I think they tried to do the whole thing, the Iliad and the Odyssey, because like the Odyssey is coming back and then the Iliad is going.
Yeah.
I'm interested. They tried to do both. I'm interested to see if Nolan is doing the whole thing or if they're doing just the return. But the cast on this movie is just insane. It's like every day I'm like reading headlines of just like this random actor who has no business being in a Chris Nolan movie. And then like every actor that's ever been in a Chris Nolan movie is also returning.
Hell yeah. So I could see them doing like what they did with Dune, where they just break it up into like super long parts.
I'm certain that now that, because it's going to be Universal that's doing it, because he signed a deal with Universal. Now that he has proven that a 3-hour movie can make $1 billion. I mean, Endgame made $1 billion, but like a 3-hour World War II biopic of an obscure, not obscure, in history he's not obscure, but to the public he's obscure. Oppenheimer, a 3-hour World War II biopic told partially in black and white, partially in color, and told non-linearly can make $1 billion. I'm sure that, Universal literally said, here's the company credit card, do what you want. So I wouldn't be shocked if this turned out to be a part 1, part 2 movie, and both are 3 hours long.
Yeah, I could see that happening.
I'm not gonna lie. I think Chris Nolan understands pacing really well. Some of his older movies did not.
Yeah, because Tenet was like, what, 2.5 hours? And I felt like that kind of earned its runtime. It was very good. It was very like keeping my interest like the whole time, even though I was working and like half paying attention, but it was still really good. He
has an act for, I mean, everyone says he should do a James Bond movie, which I agree, but it's kind of also like, does Chris Nolan need James Bond?
Yeah.
Because there was fan casting for Bond after it was announced that Daniel Craig was stepping down, and one of the names was Idris Elba. First off, Idris Elba is like 60 at this point, and it's like, no offense to Idris Elba, he's cool, he's really good in action movies.
I think him as James Bond would be good, but yeah, he is hella old.
Well, someone did an interview and he was like, I'm not trying to be like self-absorbed, egotistical, but I'm an A-list actor. You don't do Bond as an A-list actor. You do Bond to get famous. Like Daniel Craig was a good actor and known sort of before Bond, but Bond
really
was
popped
what
off after.
Bond is what put him on the map. And so you need an actor. If you're going to do a black Bond, John David Washington, the guy from Tenet.
Yeah, he
like literally, like I need him in every single movie ever.
I love him. Because Tenet, I think, was the first full movie that I've seen with him in it, but I've seen a bunch of clips of like Black Klansman with him in it.
That movie's
And
so good. That's the
that
first
movie
Spike Lee
always,
movie I've
like-
watched. I watched it literally last month, and I was
Yeah.
like, what the fuck is this? I am
The
mad
clips I see of it are very good. I always thought that Kylo Ren, what the fuck is his name?
that Adam Driver.
Yeah, Adam Driver. I always thought he was part of like the Klan, like actual Klan people, but then I saw a clip where he was doing the undercover investigation
Yeah.
shit, and I was like, oh, okay, so he's one of the good guys, but he just says that.
Oh God, what's his name? Topher Grace is the Klan guy in the movie.
Mhm.
The guy from that 70s show. The scientist from Interstellar. The one that's like in the future with the daughter when she's a grown up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I watched that movie because I was like, oh, I want to watch all of John David Washington's movie. And he's only been in a few movies. I mean, he's been in like a lot, but only a few build movies, if that makes sense. Like he was in the Malcolm X movie that Spike Lee did.
Mhm.
But I think I didn't look too far because I kept scrolling and I couldn't find him. I'm assuming since Denzel Washington played Malcolm X that he was just young Malcolm X.
Yeah.
But his movies are Tenet, Black Klansman, The Creator, and there's one other one I'm forgetting. But The Creator was fine. The Creator was the same director as Rogue One.
Mhm.
And it pretty much was just Rogue One, which I like. But the story was interesting because it was like, this is AI. This kid is AI. And it was like, this movie's gonna have a lot to say about AI, and then it face planted on the messaging. It didn't take a stance. It pretty much did what Far Cry 5 did, where it was like, we have this religious cult and also like a cultish president at the moment. And then you get to the end and you're like, what was the message here? What was the point of this? Was this just a pretty movie? But we need to get you to watch a Luca Guadagnino movie.
I don't know who that is.
So he directed Call Me by Your Name.
Oh, he's the like guy that does a bunch of like LGBT movies.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's gay himself, and a lot of his movies have gay undertones. But really, he's only done, well, I don't know. I've never seen, I forget what it's called, Suspiria, I think it's called, like his very first movie. From my understanding, it's a remake of a horror movie.
Okay.
But I don't know if it in itself is gay. But Call Me by Your Name was gay.
Mhm.
But then he made a movie called Bones and All, which is not gay.
He's the guy that's also doing the American Psycho remake,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. So he has a tendency to do erotic movies. And so I think you should start with Challengers.
Challengers. Wasn't that okay? So I've heard of Call Me by Your Name. The only thing I know about that is the peach, and I have no desire to watch that. I'll keep it a buck. The only thing
the movie itself, hold on. The movie itself for Call Me by Your Name is really just pretty. Like the story, it's not creepy. The peach, yeah, it's like a scene. Like if you're not like gay, you're probably gonna be like, okay, whatever. But if you're gay, you're like, yes, fuck the peach. But if even if you're just like someone who enjoys like pretty cinema, it's a very like grainy, like stylized film.
Okay. And correct me if I'm wrong here, but I've always had the assumption that Challengers was a movie about tennis.
It is.
Okay.
So this is the whole thing. So Challengers is about it's about tennis, and it has Mike Feist, Josh O'Connor, and Zendaya in it. It is shot like a tennis match. So when you watch
the camera's just going back and forth hella fast the whole time?
As the story progresses, we have a dog. Sorry,
He's fine.
I have
He's
no one to
chilling.
watch he might come in the frame. We'll see. He might just sit over there and stare at us. But as the movie progresses, it literally plays like a tennis match. So like you'll have like, so I'm not going to spoil it because I really want you to watch it, but it's about two guys competing over Zendaya.
Okay.
And so as the movie progresses,
It's okay. Just keep going.
okay, sorry, I'm getting really distracted. So as the movie goes, they fight over Zendaya. So you'll see like parts where like one guy has the upper hand, and like the movie is literally shot from his perspective at that point. And then when the other guy gets the ball, it's like a shot from his perspective. There are actual tennis matches in the movie, and the scenes are really cool with that.
Mhm.
But like it's literally shot like a competitive tennis match. Like you'll understand it when you watch it. But I have to say that this movie is the most erotic movie I have ever seen that does not have a sex scene in it. Like it is so aggressively horny, and the most they do is make out.
So I'm just gonna be bricked up the whole time and never
Honestly,
get to bust.
I'm not gonna lie. In the theater, I kind of was like a little horny watching it because, I mean, there is a 3-way kiss scene that's like as like freaky as it gets. but they don't actually have sex.
Boo.
There's one scene where Josh O'Connor's character and Zendaya are like about to have sex, but then they get in an argument. So like she's like in her bra and underwear and he's like in his underwear. Like that's like there's no nudity or anything. Well, there's no explicit nudity. They're in like a sauna together at one point, like arguing, but like they have towels on.
Okay.
And you see Josh O'Connor's butt, but like there's no like whatever. There's like a scene in a locker room, but like you just see a dick and it's like, okay, it's whatever. It's just a locker room. Like it's not sexual. But it is just like I watched the movie and it is just the most fascinating thing. I remember seeing the trailer and I was like, I'll go see this for Zendaya because Zendaya typically chooses her roles very well.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't star in like crappy shit. Like she's never starred in a bad movie. Maybe besides signing on to Marvel, but that's kind of just jury duty for actors at this point. But
oh fuck, I forgot to call the jury people yesterday.
Oh, Bodhi's going to jail. Wee-woo!
Fuck.
Wee-woo! What are we supposed to call them for?
To see if I need to go on Monday.
Oh, just check online.
Oh.
Yeah. You just go and you put your little badge number in and it'll tell you if you need to report.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Most likely you won't. But anyway, I watched it and in the theater I was like, this is like, I need to see this a million times. Like I'm not even, there's times where I'll be like scrolling through TikTok and I'll see like a fan cam of the movie and I stop and I put it on TV and I watch it because it's like, it's just so erotic and so good. And the score is really, really good. The fact that it did not get nominated at the Oscars for just everything, but most importantly, the score, I was like, okay, fuck you. But yeah.
All right, and fuck you if you are not subscribed to this episode of the Learning Curve podcast. Episode 9?
Episode 9.
Episode 9.
I am back in the vans. Feet content for you. If you're watching on YouTube, like and subscribe. If you're listening, give us a rating. I always forget to say that. But yeah. I'm back in my vans and I'm Cameron.
I am Bodhi, aka Shrinky Dink, aka Young Michael Bay.
That's a red flag.
Why?
Michael Bay, the famous sexual harasser.
Oh. I was just thinking more like he likes explosions.
Okay. That's fine. I'll allow that. Is there another director who likes explosions?
Michael May.
James Cameron?
James Cameron.
Maybe? I don't know. He's boring.
Pick your favorite director.
Okay. Well, I have a question for you. I just want to...
Oh,
Okay.
I have a question for you first.
Oh, no. Oh, God. Okay. This is not another Would You Rather episode, by the way. This is a serious question, but I'm going to let Bodhi ask his.
Have you ever emitted nocturnally before?
Like, came in my sleep?
Yeah.
Yes, but I don't remember how old I was, but I can tell you that I was still living with my parents and was not legally allowed to not live with my parents. Okay. So it was at some age between like maybe like 12 and 17.
Okay. Over this last week,
oh God,
I was having a dream and I could feel myself about to nut. And so I like woke up and I like tried to squeeze it to keep it in. Didn't work. But I also didn't want to nut like all over the bed and all over my girlfriend while she was sleeping. And so
put on the registry.
Yeah. I had to go into the bathroom and change and clean myself up. But guess what I was dreaming about?
I don't want to. Your dreams are so weird.
You ever see those like drag races of motorcycles, how they have like the really long back?
Yeah, like the ones that like when they tilt, they like literally like...
That's MotoGP. That's like racing motorcycles. Like drag racing motorcycles, you know how a motorcycle normally looks?
Yeah.
Take the back tire and put it like 15 feet away.
Okay.
And then have like a long pole connecting it.
I've never seen that, but that sounds...
Yeah.
You were dreaming about that.
I was dreaming about drag racing motorcycles, and I nutted all over myself while I was sleeping.
You do know that in dreams, I could have sworn I read somewhere that dreams are super condensed, so that like you may have a dream that like lasts hours.
Yeah.
But
it's
you
only
wake
like
up and it's like 30 seconds. So you could have been dreaming about something else and just completely whatever.
I don't know. All I know is I was looking at a motorcycle and I felt the cum coming.
I very much... Oh, here comes my dog. Anyway, If you're watching on YouTube, there's a dog on the screen. If not, we're just gonna keep talking.
And if you are,
I highly encourage you to listen.
There's a dog's butt on the screen.
Yeah, at least he's not showing off hole.
Havoc, go.
Havoc, why don't we go to bed, bud? He'll go away eventually, hopefully.
Okay.
This is a good show for YouTube. This is like a treat. I don't know the word for it. Enticing for people to check out our YouTube and like and subscribe.
That's true. You can see a dog's butt.
And he's really handsome. Oh, see, he's gonna lay down.
Oh, perfect.
Nice.
Okay.
Nice. Okay. Hopefully he doesn't start farting and the mic picks it up because he's gassy. No, I had a dream last night. I woke up having a panic attack because I was having a panic attack in my dream. So I have a very interesting body, and every now and again I start getting like allergic to the air. I don't know why. But like literally like every now and again, anything that touches my skin starts to like irritate it. Mm-hmm. And I have to like go out and buy like non-scented soap, non-scented face wash, non-scented hand soap, non-scented lotion, non-scented deodorant. Like it's just, or else I'll start like itching and breaking out in hives. And the reason I break out is because I scratch myself so much. And so yesterday, as I was taking a shower, I noticed I had some bumps that kind of look like chicken pox on me. I don't have chicken pox. I'm not an idiot. I am vaccinated.
Are you sure?
I'm absolutely positive because
I were just told you were vaccinated.
No, because when I went to college, they weren't going to let me in because I didn't have all of my HPV vaccines because you have to get like 6 of them, I think.
I don't know if I ever got that.
They fucking hurt. More than the COVID shot.
Yeah.
More than the COVID shot. It's very interesting. But anyway, they did like a whole thing for the MMR and chickenpox and all that crap. Mm-hmm. But anyway, I noticed a few like bumps all over like my body that kind of looked like chickenpox, but I think they were just literal like small hives. Mm-hmm. And so last night I was having a dream where there was one, and you know when you see like a blackhead and you're like whatever, I'm just gonna pop it. So I went to pop whatever, this is in my dream. I went to like pop it. So in real life I had the bumps, but they went away. Yeah. But then in my dream last night, I was like messing with the bumps and I went to like pop it for some reason, and I popped it and slime started coming out. Like Nickelodeon style like slime, but like not like Lucy kind of slime, like I guess like a shit. like you know, not like clay. Like imagine pushing clay or like Play-Doh out your body. Like that's like what it came out as. And so I started having a panic attack in my dream, and then I woke up having a panic attack. That was great. But yeah.
Hell yeah.
That's
what was your question?
Yeah, so this is the actual brunt of it. What are your thoughts? Because I was listening, I took the plunge and I actually listened to our episode last week. Not on 2-speed. Okay. To just pick out the funny parts for TikTok. But I listened to the episode. And I got hyper fixated on when we started talking about the question of would you rather be in jail for a crime that your significant other committed and you know, and you're innocent, you know they committed it, or vice versa. And then we talked about the death penalty. So then that sent me on a spiral down the death penalty. What are your thoughts on the death penalty? Do you like the death penalty?
I think there are definitely some people that need to die.
Yeah. I can't say it.
Most of the time I would
I
push
definitely
for like rehabilitation or like rewiring people's brains physically to work better.
Yeah. I mean, rehabilitation kind of works, kind of doesn't. It's more about prevention than rehabilitation. But rehabilitation is definitely something that should be considered from a progressive standpoint. The reason I ask is because in my quest for getting more content about the death penalty, I picked up my old book. I mentioned this book actually on the podcast last week. It's Discipline and
Damn, this motherfucker brought props.
Discipline and Punish by Michael Foucault. For those of you who don't know, I'm a philosophy and ethics minor, so I actually read this shit. I've never read this book front to back, but I've read excerpts of it for my classes. But this book covers some of the most extensive ways to kill people. And so I thought it would be fun today to do a review of the funniest, or not the funniest, but the most like insane ways that we used to kill people.
Okay.
And I want to see, I think we should start with a review of how we kill people now to kind of get like a litmus, right? Kind of a baseline. Yeah. And then we'll see what's worse now or back then. I want you to react to it because I got a few of them to react to.
Okay, so right now we do firing squad.
Well, I got some notes. I have a note.
Okay.
I was gonna write it down, but then I was like, I don't want to. Okay. I want to preface this by saying that back then, before we get into the now, back then.
What is back then?
Like these are all like ago? Ancient. These are throughout history.
Okay.
So I guess we hung people. I think the last execution in France via guillotine was like in the 70s.
Yeah.
I want to say it was like 78 or 77, right?
Yeah, it wasn't that long ago.
I don't really consider the guillotine to be too medieval for that reason, but also just because it's not like a crazy way to kill something. Like it's very quick.
Yeah,
I even said it last week.
Pretty archaic, just because of like when it was invented and like the. I mean, there's not much to improve on with a guillotine. Like,
I think it's clean and quick. I think it's the best way to do it, honestly. Yeah. And we'll talk about that later. But I don't consider that to be. I just think it's like it just stood the test of time.
Yeah.
I'm talking like right now we do have 3. So we have lethal injection, firing squad,
soap in a pillowcase,
electric chair, and nitrogen gas.
Oh.
So we're going to go over those 4, and then we'll get into the old ones.
Isn't nitrogen gas the shit they use to put you to sleep for your fucking wisdom teeth?
No, it's a different compound, I think.
Oh.
But so I just want to preface this, though, by saying that the ones that we're going to talk about as far as like the old ways of doing it, these were not exclusively methods of killing people. They were sentences that people were given for torture. Mm-hmm. But it's kind of like you read through them and you're like, this was not like you were sentenced to torture, but like you're just being killed.
Yeah.
You're not actually being tortured. Like it was like in what scenario was anyone making it out of this? Like it's one thing to be like, oh, you're going to get 10 lashings. You can make it out of that. But it's another thing to be like, this person, and we'll talk about it, is being boiled. Like in what scenario is that torture?
I mean, I think it's more like tortured to death.
No. I'm going to read the excerpt from here. And there's like a small little excerpt I want to read. And it literally is like, no, they didn't want to kill him. Like, but you're like, you peeled skin off of him. Like, so we're going to go through this. We'll read that. And then we'll go through the methods because I have them saved. Okay. So right now we have the lethal injection. That's the most popular method. Mm-hmm. The typical way to do that is it's a 3-drug cocktail. The first drug is an anesthetic that puts you to sleep. The second drug they inject is a paralytic. The paralytic keeps you from flailing around while you're asleep, but it also stops. It's a strong paralytic. So it's not like, oh, you can't move your legs. It is, oh, your lungs can't breathe. Mm-hmm. Your lungs can't contract. Your heart can't contract. Your brain can't send the signals. Okay. So it's supposed to stop all activity. And then the third drug is a heart stopper that goes in, and that's supposed to do it. Right.
Okay.
So a couple of things to note about this, because it's really controversial, is that Europe actually banned the sale of the anesthetic to the US. It's called sodium thiopentanol. And they banned the sale of the anesthetic for the purpose of execution. So you could theoretically still buy it because it's an anesthetic. So you could still buy it for like surgeries and stuff. But if like a prison's buying it, they're not going to sell it to the US. And so now the US commonly uses pentobarbital as a 1-drug cocktail to do the whole thing, right?
Okay.
Sean is texting me, and I'm sure that these are coming up. Give me a second. I'm going to tell him not to text me.
Didn't you turn your D&D on?
Yeah, but he can get through to it because it's Sean. Hold on, let me turn the hide alerts on. Sean, stop texting me a week in advance. Okay. Actually, yeah, that's fine. Okay. Where was I? Okay, so they use pentobarbital as a 1-drug cocktail, and some execution chambers sub out midazolam as the anesthetic.
Okay.
So the criticisms of pentobarbital is that it causes people to effectively be fake waterboarded.
Okay.
So it makes them feel like they're drowning. It basically like mimics, it causes their lungs to think that it's filling with fluid. And it effectively tortures them to death. Okay. So the interesting thing while we're talking about this to keep in mind is the 8th Amendment, which is the cruel and unusual punishment thing. Mm-hmm. Historically, and this is the shitty thing. So everyone is like, oh, that sucks. That is cruel and unusual punishment. It's cruel, but it's not unusual to inject people to death.
Yeah.
And that's what everyone kind of overlooks is the wording of that amendment. It's cruel and unusual, not cruel or. And that's like how the US gets around all this shit.
So for the unusual part, you gotta like create some new shit that's never been
The
done before.
unusual stuff is what we're going to talk about later.
Okay.
Because it's like, who came up with this stuff? Who sat there and did this? Like,
Okay.
so if Luca Guadagnino was the one that came up with some of this shit. It's kind of freaky.
So the first time we injected somebody to death, that was unusual. But
It
then
could've
we
been.
kept doing it so much that it just wasn't unusual.
But it's not cruel because it wasn't ruled cruel.
No.
It's not cruel or, it's cruel and.
Oh.
So you have to do both. Okay.
You gotta fucking spit in his face while you're injecting him.
So with the pentobarbital, it causes the drowning-like effect. It also causes people's stomach to like roll. Like literally, like
they feel like they're on a roller coaster while they're drowning.
No, you can like see their like organs, like.
Oh.
You know the video of the girl dipping the octopus in the shit, and her.
Yeah.
It's like that.
Oh.
Yeah. And then it causes pulmonary edema, which is the drowning effect, right?
Okay.
So criticisms of midazolam, it's a sedative, not an anesthetic. So you are not knocked out. You are simply just unable to move.
Okay.
So when you inject the pentobarbital, it literally feels like fire being put into your veins.
Mm-hmm.
And then you feel the drowning sensation. You feel your stomach rolling. You shake, you rattle, you do all that shit. And then you die. And sometimes you don't die because they don't inject enough and you're just being tortured. But it's not cruel and unusual because it's not unusual to do a lethal injection. So that's kind of the criticisms, right, of lethal injection. So now we have the electric chair protocol. This was actually interesting because I've never read into it. This is the first time that I looked into it. So in the electric chair protocol, prisoners' heads are shaved and then they're strapped to a chair. The electrodes are put on all of your appendages.
Mm-hmm. They put a wet sponge on your head too. Yes.
And when I say all of your appendages, I mean if you're a guy, it's going on your dick.
It's going on your nipples.
Nope, it's going on your dick.
Oh.
Yep, goes right on the groin.
What about the balls? Do they shock the balls?
No, I don't think so. They do the metal dome cap, a saline sponge, and then they put a little mouth guard in you because you bite down and they don't want you shattering your teeth.
Yeah, because you might need those after you're dead.
Yeah. And then they do a conducive jelly on the electrodes as they put them on you that like gets the electricity going. And then oh, okay. Dog again. So then they jolt 500 to 2000 volts for about 30 seconds into you.
Okay.
You would think I'm an electrocution expert.
Yeah.
Call back. But I don't know how much that is. I know that outlets, I think outlets are like 60.
Oh, I thought they were 12.
That's 60 watt. I don't know. Fucking European units. Either way, so they do that, and then they have to wait for the body to cool down to check if they're still breathing because the body's too hot. And then if they're not dead, if you're still breathing,
Can we get him out of the window? I feel like he's just gonna start barking at shit.
We're gonna pause. We're back on air. If y'all want to donate to my dog watching fund, we can get a dog watcher. Okay, where was I? So they let the body cool.
Yeah, let them cool, check if they're still alive.
And if they're still alive, they hit them again until they die. I have to repeat that, right?
Yeah.
So interestingly enough, the electric chair did actually fall under the cruel and unusual punishment of the Eighth Amendment.
Okay.
I didn't look up the case law because I couldn't be bothered with it, but the Supreme Court did rule that Nebraska offering it as the only method for execution violated the Eighth Amendment.
Okay.
So it needed to have some variety. They need to be able to choose. I don't know if that's like the jurisprudence for like people being able to choose now, but they did do that. Firing squad is exactly as it seems. They put a bag over your head. They put a target on your body. They don't shoot you in the head. They shoot you in the body because that's where law enforcement agents are.
Yeah, I think they specifically try to shoot you in the heart.
What I find interesting is that the one that they just did in South Carolina, all 3 people had live ammunitions, which typically they don't.
Yeah.
Typically they will have 1 gun with live ammunitions and 2 guns with blanks, and they don't like it, like literally like so I can't get the words out, but essentially no one person touches the gun more than once.
Yeah.
So no one knows which gun has the live.
Yeah, it's to help people's consciousness from feeling like they killed somebody.
They can say, I have a 66% chance that I didn't pull the trigger.
I think they also did that with the electric shock thing at one point too. I think they had like multiple switches that they would throw.
Yeah. But yeah, so I guess these prison guards out in South Carolina are just doing it for the love of the game. Just trained to kill.
I mean, if it's South Carolina, what does the guy look like?
I think it was a white guy. I'm pretty sure it was a white guy.
Oh, okay. So they were probably pretty broken up about it.
They were probably pretty broken up, but they said, you know what? We'll close our eyes and imagine. Okay, so then there's nitrogen gas. This one is actually pretty new. So this isn't the gas chamber. I didn't even bother to look into that because they don't use that anymore. Mm-hmm. This nitrogen gas is pretty new. Alabama just did it last year. It was super controversial. Mm-hmm. So basically they strap a mask to you and they flood your lungs with a compound of nitrogen gas. I don't know chemistry, so don't know what it is. Some people argue it's more humane because you lose consciousness and then you die because you're not getting oxygen.
Yeah.
Oh, do you remember in Tenet?
Yeah.
When they were in the little vault of the Freeport and they were like, oh, like what's the fire suppression system? And he was like, oh, we pump nitrogen.
Yeah.
That's
just
what they
rips
did.
The oxygen out of you.
That is what they did. And so some people argue that it's more humane to do this because it makes you pass out pretty quickly and you suffocate to death, but you're passed out. So you're not feeling it. You get 10 seconds and then you're done. Okay. But medical professionals say that it's not uniform, that people just pass out. Some people will stay conscious. But there's not enough data because we don't do enough of the executions to justify it. Mm-hmm. So
have you ever seen that drawing of that guy who is like, oh, I'm going to invent a new way to put people to death? And it was like this claw thing that was above somebody that would go and it would place itself like around your neck, and then it would twist and lift at the same time and just rip people's heads off.
I don't want to say that I tried not to look too far into the lists that I found. I was going to take like extensive notes and do like a whole thing, but then I was like, I kind of want to blind react to these myself.
Okay.
I'm certain there's something in there like that. In fact, the first one we're going to go over actually is very tangentially like that. But first, I want to read this little excerpt here. This is interesting. Okay. So this is Michael Foucault. I actually, as a philosophy person, recommend that y'all read Michael Foucault. It's philosophy, so it's dry. I don't recommend reading it all at once. I recommend just...
Is that a bowling alley on the front of it? What is that?
A ruler.
Oh.
Discipline and punishment. Oh. If you're going to read philosophy, read it just one chapter at a time every couple weeks. Don't sit down because you're gonna say I'm gonna blow my brains out. This is interesting to me. I'll read this front to back, but if you're not a philosophy major, you probably don't like it. Okay. On March 2nd, 1757, Damiens the regicide was condemned to, quote, make an amende honorable before the main door of the Church of Paris. So this was all like religious back in the day. This is basically, this book is about the rise of the modern prison system and how the prison system is essentially not for rehabilitation, or for anything other than asserting control over the public. That like essentially I always say this, like, oh, whatever is, gender is a social construct or laws are just a social construct. Like we all just agree on laws. Mm-hmm. This kind of takes that to the next level. Oh, here comes the dog again. He is persistent today. And so I always say that like laws are a social construct. This takes it to the next level, and it basically says like prisons are a social construct, but they are not just like willy-nilly. They are purposefully for maintaining control over people and like the government to assert dominance. It doesn't say that like they're useless, but it very much says like the whole like conception of them is very bad. Mm-hmm. Okay. So he was at the Church of Paris, where he was to be taken and conveyed in a cart wearing nothing but a shirt, holding a torch of burning wax weighing 2 pounds. And then in said cart to the, I'm not even going to try to pronounce this, it's the church, where on a scaffold that will be erected there, the flesh will be torn from his breasts, arms, thighs, and calves with red-hot pincers, his right hand holding the knife, with which he committed the said parricide, I don't know what that is, but it's some kind of form of homicide, burnt with sulfur, and on those places where the flesh will be torn away, poured molten lead, boiling oil, and burning resin, wax and sulfur melted together, and the body is drawn and quartered by 4 horses and limbs, and body consumed by fire, reduced to ashes, and his ashes thrown to the winds.
Did they make this? So he killed one person, and they're giving him like the Dante's 7th layer of hell treatment.
Yeah, that, and but this is the whole thing, is that his sentence was torture. But it was not death. It was just torture. So it's like torture with the intent to kill.
Yeah, maybe back then they thought torture just meant like, we're going to cause you so much pain that you die. Because if you get drawn and quartered by a horse, you wouldn't suggest that if you don't want to kill the person.
We're going to pause again because I'm going to get him out of the window. We're back. Okay, so let's go through some of these. Okay, so this one's called the upright jerker.
Me on a Friday night.
You and your dreams, apparently.
I wasn't jerking. I was racing motorcycles. I was completely soft, too.
Yeah, that happens. When that happened to me, I remember not being hard.
Yeah, I thought it was so weird.
Okay. Upright jerker. So the upright jerker was an interesting twist on a classic execution method. It's basically hanging, but reverse.
Okay.
So when you hang, they stand you on the platform, and then you drop, and the goal is to get your neck to break, right? Yeah. And some people sit there for hours dying slowly, right?
Yeah.
The upright jerker drops a counterweight so that you are pulled up rather than dropping down.
Okay.
So it's kind
of... But you're hung by your ankles?
No. You're hung by your neck. They have a noose.
Oh, okay.
And there's like a counterweight that drops, and it jerks you up. Thus, upright jerker.
Oh.
And it like supposed to snap your neck, and it's supposed to, because basically it's saying that some people were not heavy enough to snap their neck. This was a huge counterweight. Essentially, it was like a catapult. Like, imagine your neck being tied to a catapult. Like,
okay.
So depending on the weight of the person, rope, trap door, numerous other factors, it can be very slow or awkward way to die. The natural solution: do it backwards. The upright jerker was a modified hanging system that used heavy weights and pulleys to quickly jerk the condemned into the air. It was hoped that this would be a more effective way to break the neck quickly, but it didn't work as planned.
I was about to say, I feel like that wouldn't break people's necks.
This is what it kind of looks like.
Okay.
Do you have enough editing skills to slap these on the video?
Yeah, I can if you like take a screenshot of it. And
I'll take a screenshot after.
Email it to me.
Okay, we'll put it in the drive. Okay,
yeah, that works too.
Have you ever seen Midsommar?
No. I know there's some point where it becomes like a ritual thing.
Yeah. We need to get you to watch that. I want to watch that. We need to do a Twitch where you watch that.
Okay.
That would be interesting.
Yeah, we can do a watch along. We can just
when we get 100 subscribers on.
Tell people when we're going to watch it, and then be like, okay, 3, 2, 1, press play.
Yeah, I think I want to have you do an Ari Aster movie, Hereditary or Midsommar, because both are interesting. Okay, this method is called falling.
Falling? Like they just push you off a ledge?
Well, let's find out. What's the first thing that comes to mind when someone wrongs you? Throw them off a cliff. This has been a simple solution to the unwanted nuisances for centuries. While it's largely fallen out of fashion, Iran still employs this method for state executions. That's kind of hard.
That is hard.
That's cheap. That's effective.
Yeah.
It has to be instant, right?
Not necessarily.
I mean, it's not instant because you're falling from a cliff, but like...
Well, I mean, even when you hit, you don't always immediately die, because you can tank it, but you'll like die a couple hours later.
Damn.
From like medical complications.
Or the medical complications being
like your brain
hitting the ground
out
at like 800 miles. Have you ever heard of, I think it's called Mount Thor?
I've heard of the mountain and Thor, which are both like
Mount Thor is
powerlifters. Mount
Thor, if I don't know if it's called Mount Thor or not, but Thor Peak. It is a mountain in Canada, and it is 5,495 feet of vertical cliff.
Okay, maybe if you fell off that one, you'd instantly
This
die.
is what it looks like.
Okay.
So you can fall off. It's actually, the angle of it is slightly more than 90. I think it's like 110 degrees. So you actually can jump off and not hit anything on the way down, and you just fall for like, I think someone said like 60 to 70 seconds of just straight.
Damn.
Yeah. That would probably be the best place in my mind for falling.
That's like some mythical shit. Being like, yeah,
Could you imagine? You are condemned.
yeah, they
I
like
don't know why
get a
I'm
bunch
Dracula.
of spears and fucking
No,
like push you
get-
towards
get
the edge of the cliff.
Get like the guy that looks the most like The Rock and just be like, "You are condemned," and grab them by the wrist and just
Throw them off.
chuck them
Or
off.
just fucking kick them in the chest or some shit.
Like 300.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's hard. That's
Okay.
hard. Okay, I
I'm
like
down
that
for
one.
throwing people off cliffs. That one's not that bad.
Okay. This one is so unserious. Crushed by elephant.
Oh,
Okay, this was a weirdly specific method of execution, but you can't argue with its effectiveness. As you might guess, it was common in areas where elephants are naturally found. So South and Southeast Asia, elephants were often trained in order to ensure the trampling to be as brutal as possible.
they got elephants in Africa, right?
No, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but I think it's kind of like, you know, there's tigers in Siberia,
Mhm.
but like tigers are mainly found in like Nepal.
Yeah.
And like the Himalayas, like that's kind, you know, the elephants are more so in that area than they are in Africa.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I definitely wouldn't choose to be crushed by an elephant. I wouldn't want to be thrown off a cliff either, but I feel like that's kind of a more surefire way and it's less torture. Because you fall, when you're falling, you're falling. There's nothing you can do.
Yeah, you
But,
can
like,
have fun
The
on the
elephant,
way down.
yeah,
but
the elephant,
you just get fucking like he steps on the wrong part of you, and the rest of you
it's just
pops
torture.
out like
Well,
a
it sounds
tube
like
of
they want them to
toothpaste.
stampede him. So it's like, are you tying them down?
Probably.
That's crazy. Okay, next one is called Ling Chi. Okay, Ling Chi, also known as slow slicing or death by 1,000 cuts, was a method
Oh.
of torturous execution practiced in China.
Yeah, they had that in Naruto.
Yes, there's a game. Okay, there's a game that I used to have on GameCube. I forget what it was called, but it was basically Mortal Kombat, but Naruto.
Yeah,
And
like Itachi put Kakashi into
Yes.
the Genjutsu, and then he would
Yes.
like slowly stab him over the course of like 3 days.
Ikashi's
but,
the guy that has the little mask, right?
no, Kakashi
Kakashi.
has the mask. Yeah.
Okay.
Itachi is a member of the Uchiha.
Okay. I vaguely remember some of
Yeah.
this stuff. Okay. Let's see. The condemned was tied to a post, and bits of skin and limb were gradually removed one by one. So that kind of sounds like what we were talking about in our little book, usually culminating in a final cut to the heart or decapitation. It was used as early as the 10th century and continued for nearly 1,000 years. Luckily, it was banned in 1905, just in time for Pol Pot. Okay. Oh God, this is one that I looked up because I needed to see a picture of it. It's on the
Mhm.
other list. I know that because I kind of skimmed through them just to see the titles. But this one's crazy. This one is hard. This is another one that's kind of in vein with falling. I can see. Well, this one is Nordic, but the Vikings were very
Brutal.
creative.
Yeah.
This one's called the Blood Eagle.
The Blood Eagle.
The Blood Eagle. Oh, I forgot. Before we continue, since this is kind of true crime adjacent, do you want to put on your true crime cap?
I didn't bring a hat.
I did.
Oh, you did?
Are you brave enough to put the FBI hat on?
The FBI? Yeah, I'll put it on.
Now you work for Kash Patel.
Does it stink?
No,
Okay.
I wash it. Nice. True crime caps on. We're white women today. I'm going to get sex trafficked in a Target parking lot later.
Oh my god.
I'm so excited. Okay. The Blood Eagle comes from Nordic legends of Viking executions. The condemned's back was slashed so that to give access to the ribs, which were then broken and twisted upward to look like wings. To add injury, salt was poured onto the wound, and as a final blow, the lungs were pulled out and draped over the rib wings for effect.
Yeah, I have heard of that one before. There was an episode of Hannibal where they did that to somebody, right? Or like something similar.
I don't know because I never watched Hannibal, but this also says that they cannot confirm that this ever happened, but they cannot find definitive evidence that it didn't.
Okay. So they're just making shit up.
So yeah, but like honestly, I would be welcome. I would welcome like
So making like an art piece out of your body.
well, I think like a painting of it, like I don't know the styles of painting, like a Rembrandt.
Okay.
I don't know what style. I think impressionist. That's the style that I like. It's like the strokey kind of ones. Like Scream.
Yeah.
The guy.
Yeah.
That's impressionist. I think like that could go hard. That could go hard on like a church ceiling. Like
you ever see those paintings of like Joan of Arc or like Napoleon where it's like mid-battle type shit?
Yeah.
I think that style of one of those would be hella
Yeah.
cool. Like,
Yeah.
I'd hang that up in my office.
Or even like a sculpture.
Sculpture of it would be pretty
But like
hard.
just the back. Like you can't see, like it's like just a torso.
Yeah.
Like that would be cool. I would also welcome anyone who can direct a movie in the medieval times about Vikings to put this on screen, because I think this would be a really cool like special effects thing.
I mean, there's I don't know if they probably don't, because I've never seen it, but there's Finland Saga, which is an anime about Vikings that gets pretty fucking brutal.
Robert Eggers, the guy who did The Lighthouse and The Witch and Nosferatu, he's doing a night movie, and he's also doing a movie called Werewolf. All are set in like the 12th century, so kind of want him to do something like that.
Okay. So you're gonna make a 12th century universe of
no,
movies?
But the werewolf movie is going to be interesting because he said that it's going to be spoken in Old English.
Oh.
He's like a historian. He's like an anthropologist, so he like is very nerdy like that. But I think that's cool. Like it's going to be spoken like Beowulf language.
Yeah.
Beowulf is a terrible book though, so hopefully not as bad. Okay, this next one's called key hauling. Now I looked this up because I briefly read through it, and I can't picture. I don't understand. So maybe you can help me. Key hauling is a type of punishment specifically for sailors, dreamt up by the Dutch Navy. So Europeans were kind of fucking sick and twisted.
Yeah.
Offenders were tied with a rope and dragged underwater from one end of the ship to the other. While many died from the practice due to drowning or internal injuries, in theory it wasn't always meant to be fatal. As a bonus, men who were punished by key hauling were often cut mercilessly by barnacles on the ship's bottom, and then carried the scars with them for life if they lived. So are they like literally like, is there like a, basically like they're tied, they drop them in at the bow? That's the front, yeah, because bow's forward.
Yeah.
And then like at the stern, do people just like pull?
Either that, or what I was imagining they're doing is they like tie the rope at the stern, and then they like walk
off
the person to the front of the boat and like drop the rope over the side, and then they throw them in while they're sailing.
Okay.
So he kind of like the ship almost runs over them, and then he gets pulled along behind the back. Okay. Getting cut by barnacles would fucking suck, especially in salt water. You just immediately get salt in the cuts.
Yeah. You've opened your eyes in the ocean, haven't you?
I think so. I usually swim with my eyes open. Yeah. Even though I'm not supposed to, I guess.
Oh, I do. Well, I go in the ocean every time. It just fucking stings. I had a fucking micro cut on my hand when I went to San Diego last year, and I didn't know. And I went right in the water, and my hand just felt like it was on fire. So I can't even imagine what it would be like to have like multiple wounds.
Do you remember when we went to Tahoe and we had those like fucking $5 rafts that you found somewhere? Yeah. And then I think I stepped on a rock weird and I like cut my foot or something.
But Tahoe's freshwater.
I know, but I like cut my foot in the lake, right? Yeah. I have this scar on my ankle down here. I have no idea where it came from. Is it from that?
I didn't give you that scar, so I don't know.
Well, I don't know. I was just thinking about that. Cuts in water.
Do you hear they're trying to do, there's this guy who is like super like, his hyperfixation is Tahoe. So they were originally dropping just cameras down to the bottom of the lake to see what's down there. Oh,
you're talking the guy with the robot that like walks into the water?
Yes.
Yeah, I saw that.
Did you see how they're like, oh yeah, there's like a rift down there that might suggest that it's like a couple thousand feet more deep than we think. Yeah. That's insane.
That is pretty deep.
That's insane. Tahoe's scary.
Yeah.
You know that bodies don't decompose in Tahoe because it's so cold? Yeah. So if you die there, you can get fished out like centuries later and be fine.
You just pull out like a knight in a full suit of armor.
Yeah.
Still got his
I don't know why there's knights in medieval California, but okay. Okay, this next one, very simple, boiling.
Hell yeah.
So this one says, nowadays boiling alive is a fate reserved for shellfish. Centuries ago, it was used as a common method of, you know, it's actually really bad. Yeah. Like they studies have found that they can feel like being boiled. Like originally they thought that they didn't have the nerve receptors for that, but now like it's like excruciating pain.
Yeah, but lobster tail is so tasty.
Well, you could do that. You can still boil seafood, but what you should do is right before you put it in, you split the skull with a knife. It's an instant kill.
I see so many videos now since I talked about it of crabs on like conveyor belts going through bandsaws.
The fuck?
Didn't I talk about that here?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Okay, where were we? Okay, centuries ago, it was used as a common method of execution from East Asia to England. The condemned were stripped and then placed in a vat or pot of boiling liquid, usually water, oil, or tar. I'm gonna keep it real with you. I think the oil would be the worst.
I think that was the more popular one.
Have you seen Watchmen?
The movie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know that scene where they're in prison and what's his name? Rorschach. They go to like jump Rorschach and he takes the fry oil and he throws it on the guy. Like that just, I don't know. I have gotten hit with boiling water before. And it hurts, right? But I have had like bacon grease spot and it just fucking sting. Like it's the pain, it's the same thing, it's just so much worse because it cooks you. I mean, they both cook you, but like it's just so much. I don't know. Tar sounds awful.
I don't really know what tar is.
Tar is
like, I know we put it on our streets, right?
I think it's crazy. I think we put it on the roofs too. I think it's crazy that LA just got pits of tar in the middle of downtown LA.
They got like dinosaurs in there and shit.
Yeah. Okay. A far more gruesome experience. The offender could be placed in cool liquid and heated to boiling. That's how you cook potatoes. That's crazy. That's crazy. Records from the reign of King Henry VIII show that some people were boiled for up to 2 hours before they finally died. That's crazy.
Did they eat them afterwards?
You have to assume.
Yeah.
I don't doubt that the royals. I mean, what was her name? Mary, Queen of Scots, I think. She wasn't cannibal, but she was. She like bathed in people's blood to like keep her young.
That's hard.
It's like that guy. You know who I'm talking.
Guy? Yeah, the guy. Did you see that thing where he was like his son's blood?
He was like
measuring.
I moved my workspace into a hyperbolic oxygen chamber, and he's like working in there with a fucking MacBook, and people were like, "Dude, you brought a lithium battery into a hyperbaric oxygen chamber."
Did you hear that?
Like,
he started measuring like how young his dick is compared to his son. Like he'll fucking figure out how hard they get, like how many times they get hard per night, and he's like, I have a younger dick than my child.
Yeah. There's this like new craze in like the right-wing granola space, like the anti-vaxxer space, where they're like levels of testosterone is like super important, and testosterone's important for men. Like it's not, I'm not trying to say that it's not, but they're like, oh, Andrew Tate produces fucking 5 milliliters per gigaliter of blood for fucking whatever for testosterone. He produces more testosterone now than a 16-year-old who is, you know, in the prime of their life is, and he's 32. And I'm like, I'm gonna keep it real with you, man. Andrew Tate's bald.
Yeah,
like even if he is
all of those gigaliters of testosterone,
all those gigaliters of sex trafficking, fucking criminal. Did you see Ron DeSantis?
Ron DeSantis is the one that's like, kicking him out.
You know those like things where it's like it was back in 2020, I think, where like, you know, obviously Joe Biden was running against Trump, and it was like the tent's never been bigger, and it's like George Bush, Obama, fucking like all the like Republicans who are like still evil, but like are like, yeah, man, I'm still a constitutionalist. Like I still want to do things by the book. Teaming up, and it's like the scene from Endgame where it's like everyone teaming up. It's like that's what's going on right now with Andrew Tate. Like, you know, you're fucked when Ron DeSantis is on the same side.
Have it go.
We're gonna have a lot of beeps in this episode. Take 4. You know you're fucked when Ron DeSantis is on the same side as everyone else. Like,
yeah.
My general rule of thumb is if Ron DeSantis says something, say the opposite. Like, he's so pathetic, and it's just like, the fact that he's willing to stand up to Andrew, I don't know. It's just
that also shocked me when he was like, "We will not allow these sex traffickers into our state." And I'm like, "What the fuck are you talking about? Like, you're supposed to be on the same side as him."
Even like Dana White is like on the same side as Andrew Tate now, and I'm just like, man.
Yeah.
Not that Dana White's like particularly a smart person. He's an idiot.
They both beat women, so
yeah, and they're both bald.
Yeah.
Ah, that's the bald connection.
There it is.
They're all bald people, including Jeff Bezos, possibly, but not confirmed because I can't say that legally on this podcast. I'm not going to say an accusation, but there's the connection. I'm just saying Jeff Bezos is bald, and Elon Musk has hair plugs. So he's technically bald. Something to think about. And so is Kevin Spacey. Something to think about. You know who else is bald?
Josh.
Oh, God. Uh-oh.
We need to save him. Get him to Turkey.
Get him to Turkey. did you see that Beyonce released a hair care line called Sacred?
No.
And this guy posted a video of him using like this like hair serum, and he had like way thin hair, like not just like my kind of hair thin, but like
out the door, just shave it.
Yeah, it's kind of like, you know how Donald Trump does the little comb over and you're like, come on, man. Like, that's kind of how it was. He's like 11 weeks on Sacred, and that shit looked fire. Like, he had like, someone was like, mind you, the Turkish economy is going to collapse. Like, this is crazy. Okay, let's move on. This one, I feel like you're going to have an adverse reaction. I think I can see you having an adverse reaction to just rat torture.
Rat torture?
Yep.
Oh, this is the one where they would stick a rat on somebody's stomach, put a bowl on top of it, and then light a fire above the bowl so the rat would want to burrow into you to escape the fire, right?
Well, let's take a look and see how accurate you are on that. I will say we are about to get our first Too Fast, Too Furious mention of the podcast on here. don't know what connection it is. The only Fast and Furious movie I've seen is Hobbs and Shaw.
Oh my God.
And that's just because I really like the genre of Jason Statham movies where Jason Statham has a job.
Okay.
So, have you ever seen Crank?
Yeah.
Yeah, where he's like, you might have a boner. And he's like, yeah, I have a boner.
Yeah.
Love those movies. My uncle worked on those. Okay. Rat torture apparently lives on the minds of creative types, as it's been featured recently in the film Too Fast, Too Furious, and in the TV series Game of Thrones. In this terrifying form of torture, a hungry and or diseased rat is placed in a bucket on the victim's bare stomach or chest. The bucket is then heated from the outside, and the agitated rat chews its way through the unfortunate person's flesh and any organs it happens to encounter on its way out.
Yep.
That's crazy. We are about to have our second Xi Jinping mention of the podcast on here.
Oh, of the podcast. I thought you were going to say of the episode. I was like, when the fuck we talk about Xi Jinping?
He's right behind us. Chilling behind the couch. Oh. He's waiting for us. Yeah, Donald Trump defunded our podcast, so China's sphere of influence is going to affect it. We're going to become, you know that meme? It's like it's the woman in like Oriental makeup. Mm-hmm. Like she has like the white face and like the kimono. Mm-hmm. I think it's Japanese.
Yeah, kimonos are Japanese.
It looks like a kimono. It just looks like a robe. Like it's a colorful like pastel robe. And it's a meme where it's like it's meant to be like North Korean, where it's like our great leader, whatever. It's like us. That's going to be us soon with this podcast with China donating money. Xi Jinping, if you're listening.
I'll be funded by the CCP.
I will slap a foreign influence label so fast on this podcast. I don't care. I'm proud. I am proud. If what's his name? Tim Pool can be a Russian asset, I could be a Chinese asset.
We're gonna get fucking black bag.
You know who else is bald? Tim Pool. Just saying.
Yeah.
God, I hate bald conservative men. Pick a struggle. Pick a fucking struggle. Okay. China has made this one's called execution vans, by the way.
Execution vans?
Vans.
Okay. You got those fucking
vans. Sorry, I didn't say it loud enough.
Like you click your little heels together and you got a poison knife that comes out of them like Kingsman.
Well, look at the picture. It kind of looks like those pictures released from Iraq when the U.S. soldiers were like, hey, we're going to commit unspeakable war crimes.
Yeah.
It's kind of got that quality to it. Okay, ready?
Mm-hmm.
China has made capital punishment shockingly efficient. In this, it's little surprise, really, considering China conducts most executions per year of any country in the world. I hate statistics like that because China has the most people. Well, no, India has the most people now. China has the second most people, but they're pretty much tied. They're flip-flopping back and forth, right? Of course they're going to execute the most people if they have the death penalty, just like California is going to have the most crime if we're measuring by like we have more people.
Yeah.
It's per capita that matters. Nonetheless, a variety of crimes are punishable by death in China, including tax fraud, arson, and prostitution.
Prostitution's a crazy one. Tax fraud is a hilarious one, and I kind of love that.
I can tell you right now, I would support that in the U.S., except the U.S. makes me do my own taxes because the IRS is like, we know how much you owe.
Yeah,
but we're not going to tell you.
I still need to do that.
I pay someone to do my taxes because I always get a refund.
I just do it myself because I don't have the money to pay somebody.
My parents' accountant my parents aren't rich, by the way. They just pay someone to do their taxes, but that's what she is. She's an accountant. She charges me $150, but I have never gotten a refund smaller than like $3,000. So like
I've had to pay like the last 2 years.
Damn.
So I'm probably doing something wrong.
Your work is doing something wrong. Ideally, you shouldn't be owing or getting a refund because that means you're taxed correctly.
Yeah, that would be nice.
I would say if the IRS could just tell me what I owe or what I'm getting back, I would support tax fraud executions in the US because I think we can solve a lot of our problems if we execute the people committing tax fraud.
Yeah.
I just want to kind of make a side announcement that's unrelated to that Amazon paid 0 taxes last year. But we're moving on from that. Okay. Prostitution is crazy. Arson's kind of wild. You could theoretically, you could actually get executed in the US for arson, felony murder.
Yeah.
Because if you commit a murder in the process of committing another felony, you can get charged with capital. So you could theoretically, if you're like, oh, I'm setting this fire. If I'm PG&E, if I'm PG&E setting this fire. Oh God, California's so fucked.
I fucking hate PG&E so much.
Thankfully, I don't have PG&E.
Yeah. I
have a electric company that marginally cares about my life.
Yeah, they got a nice big propaganda building too.
It's so ugly. It's I don't know who drew that, but they need to get the Brutalist AI team on that. Many executions in China are now performed in mobile execution units, vans that are equipped with restraints and drugs necessary for lethal injections. The vans, which look like typical police vans, have been on the road for about a decade. There are dozens of them all over the country, dispensing lethal justice closer to scenes of the crime. Could you imagine? You commit a murder and the police are like, hey, you stop. And then they're like, quick trial right here, and then they like just execute you on scene. That's
how whenever
insane.
You see an ambulance passing by and you're like, oh, I wonder if there's someone in there or like what they look like or how they're doing type shit. That would be crazy to just be walking around and be like, oh, I wonder if there's somebody dying in that van.
They're like, who wants to watch? Fucking like ice cream van.
Oh my God.
Could you imagine? Okay, let's see, where was I?
That reminds me of that what country was it? Some South American country. They did a drug bust where they were dressed up like the Power Rangers. So it was just a bunch of like police officers in like Power Ranger cosplay with like fucking guns and shit, kicking in people's doors and arresting drug leaders.
That reminds me, God, I kind of became a lightweight conservative for like 2 seconds the other day. Because the CHP put out this thing and they were like, the CHP has conducted the largest drug sting in our history for illegal pot. And I was like, my brother in Christ, it is not 1975. There are people dying of fentanyl.
It's also not illegal in California.
You have to have permits and you can only grow so much. This was like a lot.
Oh, you're talking like a grower, not like a possession.
Oh, yeah. Well, okay. Yeah. It was like a growing thing or whatever. It was in Oakland. But it's just like, my brother in Christ, there are people dying of fentanyl. Like, fentanyl deaths are on the decline. They've been on the decline since the middle of the Biden administration. But, like, we have better things to do. Yeah. I'm so sorry. There are so many better ways to do drug enforcement than pot. Everyone should be required to smoke a joint in California.
I agree.
Chill. Just fucking chill.
You get your car gun and your government-issued blunt.
You either get too paranoid to come outside, or you fucking get hungry and now you're feeding the economy. By going to Taco Bell. Did you see they're coming out with a Baja Blast pie?
Yes, I did. They have Baja Blast gelato already.
They have a fucking like birthday cake tray. They're doing everything but fucking bringing back the goddamn quesarito.
I had something stuck in my throat.
Quesarito.
Yeah, it was like quesarito haunting me. I will die on this hill. Taco Bell is more innovative than Raytheon.
Well, that's the whole thing. Okay, they are, but they aren't. Because it's like, remember in 2020 when the pandemic hit and they were like, oh, we're having like a potato shortage, so we got to cut some of the shit. That's fine. Totally understandable. But then they were like, oh, to streamline our menu, we're going to take off a bunch of stuff.
Oh,
and I was like,
God,
my brother in Christ, there is so many ways to combine the same 5 ingredients. And that's what you guys are already doing. You are not like serving like fucking like surf and turf and also like homemade pasta. You're serving rice, beans, lettuce, tomatoes, onions, beef, chicken, and nacho cheese and a tortilla or tortilla chips in different forms. You're wrapping the tortilla chips in the tortilla. You're putting a quesadilla. Like you're not doing anything different.
I boycotted Taco Bell for like 3 months when they got rid of the Frito burrito. I was so pissed about that. But then I discovered the grilled cheese burrito also has Fritos in it, so I was happy.
Okay, the grilled cheese burrito fucking makes me sick.
It's so
that
good.
is something you eat when you hate yourself.
Oh, I eat it when I love myself.
Okay, here's the thing. My go-to order right now is the deluxe cravings box because it's like $5 right now.
How are you getting stuff from Taco Bell? What do you order?
They have a vegetarian menu.
Oh,
yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's why I eat at Taco Bell. It's like a vegetarian like hotspot.
Okay.
So they have a veggie, build your own veggie box or whatever, right? And I get a cheese quesadilla, cheesy bean and rice burrito, and the Fiesta potatoes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so tell me
I hate the Fiesta potatoes.
I like the Fiesta potatoes. Okay, so you know how they finally brought back nacho fries, right?
Yeah.
Permanently. Not on the app.
Crazy.
I went there the other day and we were on the way home from someone's house and we were like, oh, let's stop at Taco Bell, go to order. And I always get my deluxe cravings box. And because for whatever reason, they don't have a box where you can add the nacho fries into it, I just get them on the side because I want to have my nacho fries. Couldn't order them. Got up to the fucking drive-thru where you're like, oh, I'm here to pick up a mobile order.
Mm-hmm.
There they are, right there on the billboard. You can order them. And I was like, this is the most like where's Doge when you need it? Like there has to be some fraud, waste, and misuse of funds in the Taco Bell pipeline because why can I not order fucking nacho fries from the app? I'm getting off my soapbox now. Let's move on. Okay. Chinese officials say that these execution vans. This is a crazy transition. Chinese officials say that these execution vans are cheaper than more traditional facilities, but officials say, or they also say that they're more humane than other preferred methods of execution, such as death by firing squad. So take that with a grain of salt. I think when you rush through stuff, there's more room for error.
I think they should just run them over with the van.
That's crazy. Just chase someone down.
Yeah, there he is.
It's Mad Max style. Okay, this one's called the gridiron. I was like the Guardian. The gridiron. I think I've heard of this before. I have. Okay. The gridiron is basically a grill for roasting people. One might expect it looked like an iron grid and it was placed, or as one might expect, it looked like an iron grid and it was placed over a fire or burning coals. Some people were even basted in oil first. That's crazy. You making chicharrones out of people? Like,
there has to be like a secret history of cannibalism that we don't know about because so many of these execution methods are just like cooking people medium rare.
Well, okay, so listen. So it says some people were even basted in oil first to ensure proper broiling, but take heart, they weren't eaten afterwards, probably.
I don't believe it. Yeah, they were definitely eaten.
Would you? Okay. I had this conversation with Sean the other day. I don't judge other cultures. Like, you know, the whole like, oh, like, it's, I don't even know if it's true, but like the whole like, you know, they eat horse meat in China.
Mm-hmm.
Or like they do in China, they eat guinea pigs.
They eat guinea pigs in Peru.
They eat guinea pigs in Peru, but they also eat guinea pigs in Asia, right?
Okay.
Or dogs, you know, the whole like racist thing of, you know, oh, Asians eat dogs. I understand the reaction to dogs considering like in America, like they're very sacred animals. Like people treat dogs as part of their family. But like in the same vein, we eat beef all the time and Hindus don't eat beef. The cows are very sacred.
Yeah.
Right. Muslims and Jews don't eat pork because it's like a non-clean meat.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, I don't particularly judge other cultures for like their choice of to eat and not eat meat. Mm-hmm. It's more so how those things are being sourced that I judge. There's this thing about how like China's pig farms are super like they're fucking skyscrapers, as China does. And they're like super clean. And I was like, yeah, but you look at them, they're still fucking pig farms where they're in a little cage where they can't move around.
I mean, it's not like we're any better.
No, that's what I'm saying. Is like people were like, oh, this is so much better than the US. And I was like, is it?
I don't know.
Like,
they
just
just made
it's clean?
like a Minecraft auto farmer out of their pigs.
I don't know. I don't judge other cultures for what they eat, what they don't eat. I particularly wouldn't really judge people if like it was part of their religion to like consume to do cannibalism as long as it was like ethical as possible. Like, oh, we take a slice of grandma after she fucking kicks the can.
Hell no, I would not want to eat grandma. That meat's gonna be so fucking
stringy.
tough.
Yeah. But like, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's culture. I mean, there's so many uncontacted tribes out there. Like, I'm sure one of them does cannibalism. You know?
Well, I mean, I feel like I said, there's got to be a secret history of cannibalism that we've kind of swept under the rug because we like fucking seafood boiled people. We like put them on a barbecue.
Yeah, humans are fucking just terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Like, surely at some point we ate somebody.
We'll look that up. The history of cannibalism. Okay. The next one's drawing and quartering. You know what that is. Basically, the punishment was first doled out in England in the 13th century. The accused is drawn up, tied to a horse, and dragged to the gallows, and then usually hanged, maybe disemboweled or beheaded. I like how it's maybe. Whatever I'm feeling today. I don't know.
I'm feeling a little freaky.
Dude.
Let's cut out this guy's guts.
Yeah, you know, disembowelment is kind of like a double-edged sword. Like that's kind of like crap, because you know they used to have public executions. It was like, hey, let's go watch this guy get fucking hung.
Yeah.
I'd be mad if I went to a public execution and they disemboweled that guy because you nick the small intestine.
You're getting poop on your shorts.
No. Have you ever nicked a small intestine? You've never dissected a body before.
No, but I've had my small intestines nicked by themselves.
Okay.
Because I was like eating myself at one point.
Ooh, that's okay. Secret history of cannibalism. Now, the small intestine is obviously like the last part of your body, right?
Yeah.
It's, you know, right where your butt's attached to.
Yeah. The other end of the straw.
You would think that, okay, yeah, it probably smells bad. It smells so much worse than you think. You nick that small intestine and it fills like a small, tiny little prick.
Mm-hmm.
Fills the room. So just imagine you're out in a town square and they slice you open and they cut the small intestine in half.
I mean, when they were doing that shit, everybody smelled like shit, so.
I've always wondered that, because, like, showers did not become commonplace until, like, 1920.
Yeah, motherfuckers weren't washing their hands until,
it's got to be, like musty.
The 30s or something.
STIs had to be rampant.
Oh, yeah.
Like, no wonder men and women hated each other.
I mean, I still think.
Enjoyable sex. Because no one was showering.
I still think STIs are pretty prevalent, and men and women still, at some point, hate each other. But
okay,
at least we're clean.
Oh, this is interesting. So, drawing and quartering, it says this punishment was reserved for those guilty of treason.
Okay.
And was interestingly abolished in 1867.
That's when people famously stopped doing treason.
It outlived slavery. That's crazy. People still get drawn and quartered, I'm sure. Okay, this one's called the strappato.
The strap-on?
Strappato. It's got to be Italian, surely. Okay. In this uncomfortable form of torture that, unlike many of the others on this list, doesn't necessarily end in death. So it's kind of like the fucking key hauling.
Mm-hmm.
In strappato, the guilty party is strung up by the wrists behind the head.
Okay.
Kinky. The awkward angle is pretty much guaranteed to cause an agonizing dislocation of the shoulders, but if it doesn't, weights will be added.
Wait, okay, so they put your wrist behind your head?
I'm sure your
and then
arms
they lift you up?
Yeah, and then they probably attach weights to you, but I'm sure that they bend your arms, maybe. Oh!
Or they do it like...
No, I know. Okay, I'm going to get up.
Do it like this way?
The video's going to fucking...
With like your fucking...
Like this. And then
They said behind the head, though, didn't they?
Yeah, and then they... Yeah, and then they like pull you up. It's got to be it. I'm gonna Google an image of it because the picture that they provided is not great.
I can see if they tied them together like this, and then like with your fucking opposite of your palms touching, and then lifted you up like that. I could see that dislocating your shoulders, but
oh wait, hold on. Execution. There's an album apparently called. No, I was right.
Oh. Man, I've seen motherfuckers do that like dancing.
Well, so they add the weights. So so they turn you into a marionette essentially. That's crazy. That's gotta hurt. I have dislocated stuff before,
Mm-hmm.
That is the most agonizing pain.
I
don't want to say that. You know how like men are like, I have a cold. This is worse than giving birth.
Yeah.
Dislocation is probably up there. I'm not saying it's worse than giving birth, but it's probably up there. It's so like
Okay.
it is just you breathe on it wrong.
So top levels of pain, we have men with a cold, dislocation, and then giving birth.
Yeah.
Okay.
I dislocated one time. I've dislocated my knee before. That hurt. But one time I was in my room. You've been in my room at my parents' house, how like low the ceiling is.
I don't think I have.
You have.
I've been in your room at your parents'
That's
house.
what I said. My room at my parents' house.
Oh, I thought you said my parents' room.
No.
I was like, no, I've never been in there.
No. My room, you know how the ceiling was super low in my room?
Yeah.
I was changing and I forgot the fan was on and I pulled my arm up and I got my hand caught in the fan and it dislocated this finger. I'm not even joking. It looked like a fucking L.
That's crazy.
Like it looked like that, but it was like fully turned.
Is it a thing where you can just like put it back true?
Yeah.
Okay.
All you do is you basically just push, or you basically push it. So whatever way it is. So like when my knee was dislocated, right? It was slightly that way. So all I had to do was sit there and just pop it back in. It hurt. But that's the whole thing is when I was like dislocated, my finger was dislocated, I like went like that, like just nicked the tip. And I literally like, I saw God. Like the white lights came. I was ready. It's dislocation is just so, it's just, I can't. And you hear it.
Yeah.
Things are crunching around. It's just, ugh. Okay. This one's called white torture. Now, this is not torturing people with white people culture. Although I could see that. Like, imagine you're like, all right, here's a Minnesota salad for dinner for the rest of your life.
You're going to watch a Family Guy compilation.
All right, let's bring it down because every time I make Sean watch a movie, I'm like, oh, there's a Family Guy joke about this, and I pull it up on YouTube. The context is important. I think the perfect form of white guy torture is like making people listen to a Kid Rock album. Hot take.
Don't say it.
There's a couple Kid Rock songs that I like.
Oh my God.
Look, there's this album they did called Rock and Roll Jesus.
If you see a different host on the episode next week, it's because I went home and wrote a twit longer that was so insane Cameron killed himself.
I can promise you that I'm not being paid right now by the GOP to say this. Okay. White torture is a term that can mean any psychological torture. Maybe this is white torture.
I told you, Family Guy compilations.
Okay. It can mean any psychological torture in general. The meaning here is more literal. White torture is a type of sensory deprivation in which a prisoner's cell... Oh, color white. Okay. A prisoner's cell, clothes, and even food are entirely white. Guards wear all white. Lights are kept on 24 hours a day, and no words are spoken. The color... I'll allow it. The dog is back. No color is seen, and it's documented in the case of Amir Fakharver, I think that's how you pronounce it, who was arrested in his native Iran and subject to white torture for some 8 months in 2004. While the physical pain of sensory deprivation is minimal compared to others on the torture list, the psychological damage is beyond compare. Fakharver was quoted as saying that when he was released, he was not a normal person anymore and could no longer remember even the faces of his parents.
Yeah.
Sensory deprivation is... Have you seen the world's like quietest room where they're like you could hear your blood flowing?
Yeah, I want to be in that.
I would like to experience it for about 5 seconds, and then I would probably be like, okay, you got to get me out of here.
I feel like I would love it.
How long do you think you would last in solitary?
Like solitary confinement?
Yeah.
However long I need to. I like being alone.
Okay. You just sit there with your own thoughts. I can't sit with my own thoughts.
I just sit there and do push-ups all day.
Damn. You know, fucking cans.
Yeah.
You're going to look like fucking Kate Upton.
I have triple D's by the time I got out. That's all I would do is push-ups. I wouldn't do squats. I wouldn't do crunches or anything. I would only work on my chest so I look like a fucking cartoon character coming out.
You're going to look like a ego lifter at the gym with like little tiny peg legs and a fucking Dorito-shaped torso. No,
dude, I was told the story by one of our friends' parents' coworker.
Oh God, okay.
he was like an interrogator for the military during the whole like war on terror shit.
Okay, yeah, I know who you're talking about now.
Yeah, he told a story about how when he was interrogating terrorists, he would fucking put them in a room like that, like a sensory deprivation room, and like starve them for like a week. And then he would come in with a microwave and a bag of popcorn, and he would just pop the popcorn and eat it in front of them and then leave. And that is probably like the most fucked up thing someone has ever told me.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Do you know that that's actually like a police interrogation technique too? Is they'll put you like in a interrogation room and they'll turn the AC all the way down,
Yeah.
or they'll turn the heat all the way up.
Yeah. They just make you like physically uncomfortable.
Yeah. There's a really good episode of Criminal Minds, season 2, episode 3. Don't ask me why I know it. Where they go to Gitmo to interrogate a terrorist who's like suspected of being involved in a cell that is like planning an anthrax attack. And now that we've said anthrax, we're going to get flagged. So we might have to beep that. So I'll stop saying it. But essentially the military is like, yeah, we've been starving this guy and he's not saying anything. And the Gideon from Criminal Minds is like, well, you think? Like, why would he tell you something just because he's starving? Like, he was like, watch me be nice to him. And there's like this whole thing about how he kind of sensory deprived him as well, because he took all the clocks out of the room, and the guy was Muslim because it's, you know, a terrorist cell. So obviously, you know, has to be Muslim.
Gonna make a Muslim.
Yeah, it has to be Muslim. It was actually tied to like the 9/11 attack, so it made sense. But it was also like, did we really need to do this? Nonetheless, the guy is Muslim, so he has to pray 5 times a day. So what he would do is he would basically be respectful to him and be like, "Oh, it's time for your prayers. It's sunset." The room didn't have any windows. Yeah, and there was no clock, so he was speeding up the time of the prayer so that he could fake the attack happening and then like get information. It was pretty interesting, but yeah, I don't know if I could do sensory deprivation. I really don't.
Oh, that room you were talking about, like the quietest room in the world or whatever.
I can do it on my own free will, but after a certain amount of time.
I don't know if they still have it, but they had a challenge where it was like, if you spend an hour in here, you get like $100,000 or something. And somebody lasted like 56 minutes and then they freaked out and dipped.
Yeah, and I can imagine. Oh God, I forget what it was called.
I think it would be cool to be able to hear like my blood flow in my organs and shit.
Have you heard of the sleep deprivation experiment? I think it's an experiment. Myself. No, this was one where it was the Soviet sleep deprivation experiment. I'll send you a link to it.
The Soviet sleep deprivation experience.
Stalin.
Coming to an IMAX theater near you.
No. Basically what they did is they locked these people in a room and like kept them awake for like weeks, like literal weeks. And at the end they were like there was like a point where,
oh God, I just heard him fart.
Oh God.
Oh no.
Nick the small intestine. There was a point where they like were going so crazy, obviously like violent and everything like that. And then at some point it just stopped. Does it stink?
I'm just pre-covering.
Sometimes it doesn't stink.
I don't.
Ever since I started feeding him carrots and pumpkin and stuff, he's kind of
he's chilled out.
Yeah, because it helps with the digestion. God, I lost my train of thought. Fuck.
You're saying sleep deprivation experiment.
So they got to a point where they were so violent, and then like after like 2 weeks, they just stopped, and they kind of you've seen Interstellar, right?
Yeah.
You know when they come back from the water planet and the black guy, the black character, I don't remember his name.
Yeah.
Has been up in space for like 23 years by himself, and he's like, "You've been gone for 23 years," and he's talking like very crazy. They were just like that, but like they were like, "We see God." Like it's just insane.
I mean, I can't imagine fucking loopy even after 2 days.
Well, this is the whole thing. So there are days where like I get like 2 hours of sleep. And I still go to the gym and I still go do stuff. And then I get like, again, like 2 hours of sleep. And I just like, I'm fucking exhausted. And then I'm like on the third day, I wake up after like my 2 hours of sleep because I'm sick or whatever. And I'm just like, awake. Yeah. I can take on the world. And I'm like, I'm going to die. That's what this is. This is my like last push. Like,
yeah. When I worked for Target, I did a bunch of different things when I was there, but one of the things I did was when we were remodeling I was on the team that would work overnight to like actually do the remodel while the store is closed.
Right.
And I couldn't sleep during the day. And so the shifts originally went from midnight to 8 a.m. And I would be working those 8 hours. I would come home, I would try to sleep, I would give up, I would just stay awake. And I would do that Monday through Friday. And then Saturday, Sunday, I would sleep. And eventually my shifts ended up changing from midnight to noon. And so I was working 12 hours, 5 days a week, not sleeping at all during those 5 days, and then just sleeping through the weekend. And that has like permanently mentally altered me.
Yeah. When I was in Reno, I worked with the probation department, and I would have to work swing shifts, which was 11 to 8.
Mm-hmm.
But then my job would also be like, oh, you're coming in 8 to close, or 8:30 to close, which was like midnight.
Yeah.
Or like 10:30, and then we'd be there for an hour and a half. So it's just like this whole like thing of like, oh, now I got to get up in 5 hours, because they would have me clopening.
Yeah.
All right, let's get through these last two. Okay, this one's called the Pena Cooley, I think. Poena. Cooley for sure, but Poena.
Wait, what was it? Poena?
Pona, maybe?
I don't
Whatever.
know.
Oh, damn. The mics might have picked that one up. He's got it in his ears. Got a moaner over here. Jesus
I don't think it's
Christ.
picking up. We're good.
Okay. Okay. The punishment of the sack, or Pona Cooley, was an oddly specific form of execution. It was used in ancient Rome in cases of parricide or killing one's parents. There we go. There's the parricide. Jesus fucking.
Damn, we got a Nikki boy on the screen. Go away.
Okay, we're going to pause one more time, and then we got to finish this up. Okay, we're back. Okay, parricide, which was what we talked about in the book.
Yeah.
So killing of one parent. I didn't know it was called parricide. The condemned was sewn into a leather sack with a number of animals, including a dog, a monkey, a snake, and a rooster. They got
How
the Zodiac.
big is this fucking...
They got the Zodiac in there.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Got the ox and the dragon. Then the whole bag was tossed into a body of water. If the animals didn't kill the alleged murderer, drowning surely would.
What?
It's just overkill.
What is the thought of just bagging this guy up with a bunch of animals and throwing him in? What's the motivation for the animals to kill the person?
Maybe
because like with the rat
well,
thing,
the snake I understand, because the snake is like, I'm gonna bite you. The
Yeah,
rooster's
that's
like,
fair.
I'm gonna peck you. The dog's
Okay.
like,
I'm gonna take a shit on you.
yeah, and then the monkey's kind of like, I'm a chimpanzee maybe, and I'm very violent.
I guess.
It's
Yeah, maybe just having all those
soak
animals,
him into the sack and throw it into the river. Like,
just throw him into the sack and fucking keep him there until he dies.
it's kind of like you know those fucking Doge cuts that they're doing, where they're like, oh, for if you want to write a new policy, you got to find 10 useless ones.
What the fuck?
Yeah,
Okay.
that was like a direct order from Elon Musk, where they're like, any agencies that want to write a new policy, they have to find 10 old ones to get rid of, which is such a crazy way of running the government. But it's kind of like where they were like, if you want to kill one human, we got to kill 6 animals with them.
Okay.
Why? Just throw them into the river. Jesus, just tie rocks to their ankles and throw them into the river.
Yeah,
like,
do him like the mob.
Jesus. Okay, last one. This one's called scaphism. Scaphism was one of the worst and most painful skin-crawling methods of torture. It was described by the Greeks as punishment used by the Persians, and if they are to believe, those Persians were insane. I think the Greeks were just racist against the Persians, but
Probably.
yeah. In this form of execution, the accused was trapped between 2 boats or in a hollowed-out tree trunk, and oh, Jesus Christ, and force-fed milk and honey.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, that
Yeah.
part doesn't seem so bad, but the milk and honey diet eventually caused horrible diarrhea,
Yeah.
which stayed within the wooden enclosure, and the unfortunate condemned was smeared with more milk and honey and left out in the sun or near still water, where bugs would be attracted to the muck and rot and sweetness. The person would inevitably die of either dehydration exposure or bite and sting wounds from those insects.
Yeah, I've heard of that one before.
That's crazy.
Hearing it, I don't think, I mean, obviously it would fucking suck if it happened to me, but out of all of the like methods of torture and execution we have, I don't think that one's that bad.
Why? It's
Like,
like
why does it like you're just shitting yourself and then getting eaten by bugs. Yeah, sure. I feel like the rat thing would be way worse. Having a rat burrow through you? Like, are you fucking kidding?
But these insects are still burrowing through you because you're gonna get maggots on you.
Yeah. But I don't know. I just feel like the rat one would be worse.
That's a blood eagle.
Hell yeah.
That's hard.
He look like he's getting ready to receive back shots. You can grip on the ribs for.
Have you ever seen that thing where it's like a post where it was like, I don't care if my shotty's bald. When I'm giving back shots, I'm gonna slap her head.
What was it? Freddie Gibbs' baby mama. I think recently there was a picture or video or something of someone using a plunger on the back of her head.
That's insane. I don't care if the plunger's like straight from the store. Don't put anything from the bathroom on my head. It's kind of like when people will like eat in the bathroom and I'm like,
Yeah,
the bathroom air.
Disgusting.
I don't care. The bathroom in my house is like down the hallway. The door's open. Like there's an invisible barrier there. Food cannot touch that air. Like it's not. It's
like
not
if you having toilet snacks, you need to be fucking bloody
toilet
eagled.
snacks. That's a method of execution. Let me just see. I have another list here that has kind of the 10 most. Okay, this is what I wanted to go over real quick. Bamboo torture.
Yeah, that one would suck.
Forcing shards of bamboo under the fingernails.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks like they also were allegedly used by Japanese on American prisoners of war. That's crazy. That makes sense. They deserve it.
It was pretty big during World War II.
Flaying?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's the pincers thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They just rip your skin off.
Ugh. Oh, there's the scaphism one. This picture's insane.
Damn, how many motherfuckers they got?
I know, they're like doing it all at once. They're like, let's do a big push.
Like, okay, we're taking you down to the scafing pond.
Okay, so then the question now is, all those methods of execution, are they comparable to today's?
Comparable how?
Like, have we gotten more humane?
I mean, I think so. Yeah, I don't think it's nearly as bad as it used to be.
What are you taking out of all of them? Modern and historical?
Modern and historical? I would either go firing squad to pick one from modern, or I would out of the historical ones, I think the Death by 1,000 Cuts.
That's
just because
crazy.
that name is hard.
Kinky.
It's got a cool ass name.
You're a Taylor Swift fan. She has a song called Death by 1,000 Cuts.
Does she really?
Yeah. I would take Falling.
Falling would be pretty cool too.
I'd want Arnold Schwarzenegger to do it. Could you imagine? You are
picks you up and
I keep going
you.
into a fucking Dracula accent. I can't do his accent, but you are condemned. I am the governator.
Right.
God. Before we get our socials going, I do have a couple corrections from last episode that I wanted to read.
What do we have
out.
to correct from last episode?
Well, speaking of Arnold Schwarzenegger, remember we talked about how he was an immigrant from Austria, and I was like, oh, because you were like, oh, he could be Pope, and I said, I don't know, because he could be Jewish because he's from Austria. He is in fact Catholic. I was just making shit up and talking out my ass. Yeah. That's crazy. I've never heard of an Austrian Catholic. Maybe that's common. I don't know, but it's the Europeans, so I can be as discriminatory as I want to. I also want to add on, we talked about how the monarch of England does their come to order for Congress or for their parliament. They also give the State of the Union on behalf of Parliament.
Okay.
So the Parliament writes it for them. They just read it out.
Okay.
And then one thing I wanted to add on, we talked about how you cannot force your religion onto people as a world leader. And you said, looking at you, America, I want to point out that France is not free from this. I'm never going to take my foot off the French's neck. They just hate Muslim people.
Yeah.
They have a bill to ban Muslim religious garb there, so.
Well, they're about 5 years behind us.
We don't ban it.
There's a whole ban on Muslims.
Heinous hate crimes when people are wearing it.
Yeah, that's true too.
We take things into our own hands.
Yeah.
Here in America.
I saw a clip of you ever see the show Curb Your Enthusiasm?
No.
There's a whole thing where there's a whole episode where what's the guy's name? Larry David? Who's the main guy? Whoever the old white guy is.
Yeah, Larry David. Yeah, I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, his like car broke down and he pulled up to someone's house and he was like, "Oh, can you take me to the gas station?" And it was like a Muslim woman and he ended up setting her up with a blind date for his blind friend. And I was like, "Oh,
okay,
okay."
Yeah, but point being, France is extremely racist. French people are just awful.
France has been awful and racist.
Yeah. Really, the only thing they got going on for them is cheese.
They got baguettes, don't they?
We got better bread here.
Yeah, we got Wonder Bread. You're right.
We got Wonder Bread. The Jews popped off with challah.
I don't know if I ever had that.
It's like really light. It's like brioche. It's really light in there. It's good for French toast.
Okay.
I don't know why I had to like think about that, but
I like Texas toast for my French toast.
Texas toast is kind of similar to challah. It's just like light and airy.
Oh, okay.
Like, you know, like Hawaiian rolls.
Yeah.
Similar in texture.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else?
I don't think so.
Okay. Let's read out some socials. Guys, like and subscribe on YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter.
We are so close. We're
Apple
very
Podcasts,
close.
Spotify. Follow on all, please.
Well, I'm going to read them all out, but we are very close to 50 followers on TikTok. We're at 49.
Hell yeah.
We're so close. 50 followers. We're halfway to 100. And you know what happens at 100. I can't say it, but you know what happens. YouTube, Learning Curve Pod. If you can, like and subscribe there. I know I said it 1,000 times. Bluesky, learningcurve.bsky.social. Twitter is learningcurvepod. I don't care about Twitter as much.
Is our Bluesky getting any movement?
Yeah, we have like 14 followers on there.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
we're trucking along. Instagram, we're picking up steam. I think we're about 25 on there, 23, 25. So we're picking up steam. I really want to get us to 100 followers on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
The reason being is that at 100 followers, we can start doing Q&A.
Okay.
I think we should start doing Q&A at 100. So tell your friends, even if you don't want to listen to us read out your questions and confessions, and anonymous confessions at that. It'll be anonymous, not to us, but to the world.
Yeah.
TikTok, we are at Learning Curve Podcast. Yeah. And then Bodhi's stream is Shrink3Dink. Really, if you can, if you're listening on Spotify, Apple, wherever you're getting your podcasts, leave us a like or a review and a comment or a rating or whatever the fuck it's called.
Yeah, we just need to start rage baiting.
Yeah.
That's all we need to do.
The more
next episode will be
there
the
was
rage
a
bait
comment.
episode. Someone
left a comment on TikTok because the video gets squished when I crop it.
Yeah.
And they were like, "Why are we squished?"
Oh yeah, I saw that, and I was like, "What?"
I responded to it, and I was like, "Hey, bestie, you want to donate to our camera fund?" I wasn't mean about it, but the more the more subscribers we get, the more ads we can turn on. Well, not we're gonna bombard you with ads, but the closer we can get to turning ads on, and then we'll get money off of this, and then I'll go out and buy nice iPhones with that money, and we'll set them up to film both of us at the same time, and then I will no longer have to crop the videos because they will be filmed in 9:16 vertical, and not on an iPad.
Yeah.
So, like and subscribe.
All right. Thanks for listening. I'm gonna go piss all over Cameron's bathroom.
I'm gonna go get executed. Tell us your favorite execution method.
How would you like to die?
And who would you like to die? Who do you think deserves it most?
I don't know about that.
Don't directly.
That might get us in some legal trouble.
Don't directly call for it, but who is your favorite death row inmate?
Okay.
We're white women, so what's your favorite murder?
Yeah.
First time at my boy's house.
All right. Until next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.